Upbeat. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Settle in, put on something comfortable, and get ready for a long one, ladies, because we're talking about mental health. Let's get into the video. So I do have the video split into separate parts, and we're basically going to be talking about several topics and things that I feel like aren't really discussed on the YouTube platform to the extent in which they should be. And of course, that's not to discredit any content creators out there who are watching this who are like, hey, I've spoken about it. I've been really realistic and honest and real in my process of unraveling what it's been like for me. But in my journey with the mental health, I feel like there has been an unrealistic representation of mental health and wellness via YouTube. So let's get into my first point, and that is what you see online does not represent what's happening in your life. And I feel like when I say this, of course, that could be very broad, but we're thinking about it for more specific terms. So you go on, you pull up your phone, you're looking on YouTube, you're looking on TikTok, you're looking at Instagram, and what do you see? All the people who wake up at 5 a.m., who have the money and the funds to be on some beautiful island and do yoga in front of the freaking ocean every single morning and have the best, most wholesome, vegan, amazing meals supplied to them whenever they choose, delivered to their house if they choose. Like, you see a lot of what I would classify as privilege. And that's my first point. That when it comes down to it, honestly, your accessibility to things that would make your life more wholesome is dependent upon your privilege, right? So let's say I live in the suburbs. I have a family that can supply if I wanted to go to college. We've never had to worry about getting groceries. We've been financially stable for a very long time. And I don't see that financial stability ever dissipating. So from that perspective, if I ever needed something or if I wanted to switch up my diet or do different things, I was able to do that because we're not in survival mode. And a lot of people, when they talk about wellness and health and eating right and the dietary things, they don't take into account three factors, and that is accessibility, environment, and sustainability. If you don't have the funds to support a plant-based eating diet and the recipes and the time that goes into really working through that in your personal life, then it's not really a sustainable element of your wellness journey. And then another part, as I said, environment. So if you live in a very dangerous part of the world where you can't go jog out in your neighborhood and you can't have access to the nicest Pilates studios and the nicest spin classes, like I don't even live in an area that offers those sorts of things, you're probably also finding yourself on the opposite end of the spectrum as well. So when we really look at it as a whole, we really need to tackle it from the internal issues within the community before we really start critiquing the overall, facets and makeup of it as a whole. So that leads me to my main point of that, which is when you're going on and you're beginning to start your wellness journey, maybe you want to get into yoga, maybe you want to get into meditation, or maybe you want to start running. I think it's really important to separate yourself from what the media presents you and from what's realistic in your life. Why does mental wellness look different from person to person? And that's something that also ties into my last point, which is it's your environment. It's if the lifestyle is sustainable. It's about financial income and accessibility. So if you're one of those people who's a single parent, struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, your house is rather small, you don't even have the space to maybe film yourself if you wanted a YouTube channel like I can, or to even just do some of the physical recreational activities that go into your wellness journey, you may be also like, well, how do I get started to begin with? I just also wanted to mention that because I think it's another perspective that not much light is really shed on. And there's a lot of people who are kicked out of the whole wellness and holistic journey because they just don't have access to the different opportunities and elements that go into really making it a wholesome experience. And that's just the fact of the matter. So from another perspective, I said there is a really important factor here, and that is being able to differentiate between rationality and lack of motivation. So I did a lot of dissecting the many facets of what makes our perception of wellness different from person to person. But what I also want to talk about is the fact that what makes wellness different from person to person is also your lack of motivation and your ability to have willpower and to be determined and to have a goal and set all the little steps underneath it that are going to allow you to climb the ladder and actually reach it. And sometimes you see ambition evidently in other people, and we can use that to project our insecurities in others and to say, oh, that's not realistic. Oh, that's not anything I can do. Now, if your economic and physical circumstances don't allow for that, that's another thing. Finances are an issue, that's another thing. But if you're one of those people like me who has access to a lot of the platforms that would feed my wellness journey, don't really give yourself that much of an excuse, you know? Give yourself the motivation and the stable mindset to actually pursue your dreams in a financially, environmentally, physical, responsible way. And so I feel like that's another point that also needs to be acknowledged, is that this video is not meant to critique people who do have the privilege to use the multiple elements in their area, in their life, whatever money they have, to travel the world, to seek out all different opportunities that would allow for their journey in this life to be very wholesome. But it is to say that that's probably not everybody else's journey with wellness, and that's fine. So that's why we're including them in the discussion, because that's a majority of people who don't have access to all of those different things. And now that brings me to my next point, which is wellness equals self-love. I'm gonna say it again. Wellness is equal to self-love. Now, like, what does that mean? That means that your version of wellness is not my version of wellness. Yes, there's some people who enjoy meditation, yoga, and running too. There's some people who enjoy reading, painting, freaking smoking a cigarette, and they call that wellness. Now, I'm not necessarily going to promote or credit all forms of wellness, because I think what some people may say makes them feel better or makes them feel good or alleviates their pains and anxieties could be harmful to the self. But I will say this, and that is, it's okay if it looks different from person to person to person. So when you open up your phone and you go on YouTube, you go on Snapchat, you go on TikTok, you go on Instagram, and you see some girl doing some sort of kick to make her butt look bigger, or you see somebody doing something that makes them slimmer by running, or they go to a spin class, or they cycle on their bike, or they walk for however many hours, that may not work for you, and that's fine. And that is the most exciting part about it, is being able to differentiate your experience with other people. So don't allow that differentiation to hold you back. Let that be motivation for the fact that, wow, there's something else out there that's so individual to me, so unique to my experience and my circumstances, and works for me, that's separate from what works from everybody else. Sometimes you have to create the environment in which you need to promote your lifestyle that you're hoping to attain. And other times you just have to realize and utilize what's already been in your life all along. But it is possible, and that's the point of why I'm saying that. So the next part is some of my personal things that I like to do for health and wellness. So as I kind of mentioned before, meditation, yoga, running, also just cooking. I'm really big in culinary. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be my major. And it's just like, those are the things that bring me happiness and give me the will and the determination to actually want to pursue this wellness journey that I'm constantly going to be on for as many years as I'm allowed. Now, that leads me to my equation. And I'm calling this Malia's equation because I never heard this on the internet before. Yes, I am. I'm calling it Malia's equation, and here's what it is. It is passion plus self-derived motivation. It can't come from anybody else. Okay, we're being exclusionary. Plus self-acceptance is equal to change. I'm going to say it one more time. Passion plus self-derived motivation plus, make sure you write this down, self-acceptance equals change. And now let's get into the first one. So passion. When I was just talking about how wellness is equal to self-love, it's really important to consider the fact that all the things I listed, I want to do. If you don't want to get up in the morning, girl, and run at 5 a.m., get out your bed, wake up them kids, and go for a 13-mile run, ain't nobody asking you to. If you want to go to the gym and you want to lift 50,000 pounds and work that weight off that way, nobody's criticizing you for that either. So just realize that the thing that makes your experience differentiated from other people is the superpower, is the reason why your journey is going to be more successful than anybody else, girl, because it's unique to you and your experience. Leads me to my next one. Self-derived motivation. This one's actually pretty simple, and that is that nobody else can make you do what you know you need to do. If your mom says go out and wash that car, most people are not going to drag you down there to do it yourself. You know, if you want your car to be clean, you need to clean your car. Either that means literally getting the materials together so you can get it clean, get it whatever, or going off someplace and getting paid for it to be done. But regardless, if you really care about that car, or in this instance, your body, because this of course is an analogy, you would do the work without other people's input to make that look how it is that you dream or desire or hope that it will. So don't let other people's opinions, abilities to motivate you determine your capabilities. You are the person who is the master of your own world. And you are the person who needs to decide and put their foot down and say, look, I'm going to lose the weight. I'm going to feel better about myself. I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to do it. That's up to you, girl. It's up to you, or men, or whomever else is watching. It's up to you. And that's why I say self-acceptance. If you can't call yourself beautiful and sexy before you begin the process, or handsome and whatever else you want to call yourself, before you begin the process, it's going to be really hard for you to transition to a place to where as you're going throughout the journey, you're still loving yourself consistently. And that's why I say wellness is equal to self-love. So if we're doing things we're passionate about and things that we enjoy, it's going to be easier for ourselves to feel happy when we're working towards a goal that sometimes is really far away. You know, losing weight, really finding better coping mechanisms for depression and anxiety, like that takes work, sometimes years. So having the patience and self-acceptance and love for yourself to even promote the type of behavior or activity that would allow for you to feel better comes from a place of self-acceptance. I'm not happy today, but I know I can take these steps to be at ease. And that just has to be enough for you. And that has to be a part of the process of self-acceptance. And that is why I say it is equal to change. Because you're not going to be able to change anything, your weight, your mental state, your dietary habits. You're not going to be able to change anything about yourself. It could be just wanting to read more, to educate yourself. You're not going to be able to change anything about yourself if you can't accept where you currently are and accept the fact that you need to do better. So hold yourself accountable. If you know that you're going downstairs and scrounging around in every drawer and shelf looking for them candy bars at 12 o'clock at night, girl, look at yourself in the mirror and say, look, I can't do this anymore. Like, this is not helping me grow. If you're the same person who's making suicidal jokes and also talking about how depressed of a state you were in, girl, is that really helping us progress our mental health, or is that just holding us back? Like, you have to make the best decisions on your day-to-day, like with your thoughts, with your actions, with the way you interact with other people, the way you go about handling your body language. It all plays a role in how we accept ourselves and think about ourselves in the end of the day. And that determines whether or not we're going to change those negative, horrible coping mechanisms or we're going to grow. So you need to make that decision for yourself, but it does start with looking in the mirror and holding yourself accountable and saying, I'm gonna love me today, and these are the steps I'm gonna take to get to a place where I can say, look, me first, period. And that's the end of the story. Now, there is one last thing I do want to say before we go, and that is wholesomeness and the whole wellness journey is not anything you need to be intimidated by. You can start tomorrow, you can start a week from now, but girl, look, here's the fact of the matter. Time is not going to stop. Weight is not going to stop adding on. Your mental health and those horrible pessimistic thoughts that you're having are not going to stop if we don't do something about them. So if you're going to motivate yourself to do anything today, motivate yourself to start. Motivate yourself to get to a place where you can say, I am not going to let any pessimistic thought, interaction, anybody else's opinion get in the way of putting me first, because I matter enough and I am enough to tackle all the demons in my closet today. Because in the end of the day, girl, the quality of life you're going to have is dependent upon the decisions you make on a day-to-day basis, right? So that's the video today, guys. Thank you for checking in. Thank you for listening. I really just love talking about things, all mental health, all wellness. And just remember, your journey and what makes it unique to you is a thing that's going to allow for change in your life. So don't be scared. Appreciate the journey as it comes along. Girl, you curvy, got a little extra weight on you. Girl, you better have the confidence no matter what state that you're in. And just appreciate yourself, love yourself, give yourself what you would want somebody else to give you. So I'm wishing you all the wholesomeness you can possibly have today and tomorrow and for the rest of the days of your life, hippies. And thank you for listening and watching.